This is Carmine Famigleitti, and you're watching Lars Hensley, a.k.a. DangerMan, Double X.
All right, we're good.
All right.
First, I want to say I did enjoy the film. Did you have any doubt you'd lose the weight when you started making the film?
I don't know if I'm stupid or or overly confident, but I was very confident I was going to be able to do it. You know, I didn't have a. I knew that's what I needed some structure. You know, I was just way too lazy in life, and I knew the movie was going to kick me in the ass. People were going to be counting on me. And, fortunately, that's not the best reason to get. None of it had to do with, and I think that's why I still have a weight problem, is because even on pounds, I was losing the weight, it seemed, for the movie and make sure everything was working out for everybody else. But, I knew that was going to help, wrong. But that was my more motivating factor than me helping myself once it got going.
So, go ahead.
The first time I decided to do the movie, it was to turn my life around. It was to literally save my life. And I was going down just a bad path, but 300 could turn into 500, and next thing you know, those people who's like out of his house, I'm too heavy.
Did the pounds sneak up on you, or did you just kind of watch yourself eating and say, I just don't care for a period of time?
In the beginning, they snuck up on me. Like the first, from the time I was 21, 22, I wouldn't say I was perfect health, but I was in the high ones, low twos. I was in pretty good shape.
And how tall are you, if you don't mind my asking?
5'8", and according to my doctor, I should be 160.
There's nobody that hasn't faced health issues in their lifetime, whether it's from pounds or just eating right. And similar to yourself, when I divorced 3 years ago, I'm 5'11" and a half. I was 182, and and I was upset over that because it just there's just excess body weight everywhere, and it wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough. And for me, the divorce made me not eat, so I lost 25 pounds instantaneously. And from there, I said, you know what, I've done something right by accident. Now I need to continue, and I just changed my life. For me, it was, and this I'm getting to a question here. It's a lifestyle choice to me in terms of when you make this change. It's not just losing weight; it's a lifestyle choice. I started inline skating, doing things I knew that would keep me in a good place. And of course, I changed everything I ate. I dropped all the complex carbs completely. The empty calories of soda I gave up. I try to stay away from high fructose corn syrup, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't see any of these type of things in the film that kind of, underlined, what the character was going through and how he got from point A to point B. It was that, it was a great reveal when he got in the truck and he made that change of, when he said Monday came, and then the next scene is he's in the truck. For me as a viewer, I was really in some ways disappointed I didn't get to see more of the change take place as opposed to that abrupt change, which was really fantastic to see nonetheless. So I guess could you tell me about that? Did you purposely leave out the concept of it was a lifestyle change, other than the fact that he did change his lifestyle and go up to the trailer? I didn't see the choices in food, the things. I didn't see kind of any of the interior design.
You know what, Lars? You got it right. You are a dude, because that was absolutely calculated. We want, the message to get out is, look, unless you've been living on an island, you know what you should be eating. You know you should be exercising. If you don't know what's good and bad for you by now, living in information we have, then never going to know. So we wanted to get the bigger thing is making it's a mental thing. It's mental and spiritual and personal, and just knowing what to eat or what to drink. We didn't promote any kind of diet. What we wanted to promote is, you got to start thinking to yourself. You have to be prepared for something drastic. That was the more important thing, was make a decision to have it in the light. How you get that is up to you, but some of the stuff there with carrots and it, for us, people know what they're supposed to do to lose weight. They know what, and the bigger issue is, why don't they? Why don't people make better choices? Why don't they better food? Why don't they get a gym membership? I don't know. I don't think.
You could break it down philosophically into the mannerism of the country and where we're at, and almost like our need for gasoline as opposed to our willingness to get into some other energy source. But my point is that I did kind of agree with that, but I was still, the absence of it was glaring, and I was, at least to me it was, and I wasn't certain whether or not. I kind of sat back after the film stopped, and I that was a question I just couldn't get out of my head.
It's funny, almost that we have him leave his world. That's where he had to change his surroundings, and to some degree would even move. If you have, leisure have, whether it's going out diner at 4 o'clock in the morning and having 2 cheeseburgers, or even if around your family you're eating more than you normally do, I guess what we were trying to say is changing the food up. You have to be like an alcoholic, a drug addict. You may actually have who you are with, and the people you hang out with, and the environment you put yourself in. That's what I think when it comes to food, you never kind of hear that. You hear like try and exercise. I get in my that there was always something more to that. It was going to take more of a drastic change other than the physical things I was putting into my body.
Do you still face these demons? I mean, obviously, I'm certain you do to some degree.
Oh yeah, I terribly. I put a lot of weight back on. I'm not the weight I was my highest, but I'm definitely. I had visions of at the open night of town and literally being able show off, to be honest with you, and say, look, I did it, but I can't do that. People are going to show up this weekend or next weekend, and they got this guy at the issue still. And in fact, the movie back and finally Brock has been starting to fire me up a little bit again to straighten this out. But no, I'm still battling it. I feel sorry for myself. Believe me, most days I'm like, come on, man, can you? The next morning when I wake up, I'm missing myself.
Do you think perhaps it's the circle of friends you have, or maybe the lack thereof, or the world in which you participate in? I mean, I found for me personally, like in dating, I just stopped trying to date anybody I got along with. I tried to find people who actually had like interests. Do you think that would change you in terms of how you could possibly just get over the hump and stay there?
I think it's very possible. And I have people. I have a combination of both in my life. I have people who, if I hung out with them long enough, they'd probably be better for me. And then I have people who, going to probably party and then the way they want to live it goes right till the end theirs. I do have some people around me that probably aren't this for me, and I got to tell you, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is, when the release is over, maybe summer or fall. Been thinking about getting away in a couple of months and just reassess. But I do think there's something to that. I think a change of scenery, even if it's a temporary change of scenery, where you step away from your life and realize that you a path that's going to rob you of years, man.
Yeah, believe me, I'm not in the same boat as you in terms of the weight issue, but everybody has, and I think that's why people can relate to this film. Everybody has their own demons, and they can look at this and truly associate.
Like the girl upstate, Miriam Shaw's character, she can't break away from her husband. He has on her, or she can't change. Right? I think that's why she's attracted to him more than anything. That it's something that for her would be a dream come true, to just and make a change. And she's addicted to staying still.
Yeah, that's a story that every man has also faced. So you certainly hit that one on the head. And that is there's always that woman out there that probably wants to be with you, but she can't break herself away from a bad habit. I guess my next question would be, it's like, in the film, if you could go back and obviously it was it's I'm sure you think of it as has some flaws, but flaws that are good, those raw things that you see that come naturally and organically, and you're glad are there. But do you see anything? Do you see anything in the film that you would love to change in retrospect?
I think there was probably a time when I wish I could have. Now that I'm a little more away from it, I do appreciate the imperfections as a little more. But I guess if there was one thing, I think it could have been interesting, even if it was very brief, for the film to have kind of that real moment of, I don't know, the night club and it's, I think, it could have been easy too. It's all in how you play that. I think one, kind of defining Rocky might have been interesting. Like if we would have cut back and say, instead of hiding my body for a little while for the last part, what if it was opened up to you're hearing who's O'Reilly and Neil is suddenly this fit animal who's going to come home, and because even when he comes back out and he's worried and he's a little about things it seems. He's more confident now, but he goes slow. He walks up to the house slow, takes his time walking into the diner to get that girl's phone number. He doesn't do confidence there, but he's also, taking his time to drink too.
Yes, and that was well done.
I'm sorry?
I said I think that was well done.
Yeah, and it was fun, and I guess that would maybe be the one thing, is maybe to have this one moment where he's not so unsure or so trepidatious, where he would just go into the situation and whatever, dominated it, or been, maybe that's the peak a little bit, but.
Well, I think it's certainly a little more human that he may have made all those changes, but he was still the same person inside. So why wouldn't he have that trepidation until he?
That's that line, and it's funny because that line the one guy says is, just because you don't expect others have, and by the way, Neil's changed to visit, obviously, but he's that person too.
How did you look at the gentleman who played the character Sacco? How did he go about losing weight for the end of the film, when he was a hardcore addict and he was completely lost?
He did it much more effectively. Michael's I'm his biggest fan. I think the guy is an incredible player, Michael, and he called us up in June of that year and said that he very bulked up. He looked good. He looked good. He said, if you guys want to film me now, because we were about seeing him how he normally was, and then seeing him in the way he ended up. So sure enough, we did. He was really big, bigger than he normally is, just with weightlifting, and he looked great. That's what you see in the film, and he's got that weight down to his final weight. I'd say 3 months.
Wow.
I mean, he crashed big time, you know, and he had to have just starved himself. I mean, the way that he could have gotten all that weight off without just starving himself.
I guess, which begs the question. So, how did you do it? Did you just did you mildly change some eating habits, and it took place over the course of a year, or did you have a trainer? What happened?
It was definitely, you know, it was over the. I mean, we shot the movie over a course of 27 months, and for me, it was the late night eating, Lars. Usually in the, you know, afternoon and evening, I make the right choices. I know what I'm supposed to be eating, and what the right foods are. I had to first, even before I went to the gym, I had to get that late night thing under control, because it was so out of control that no amount of workout in the gym would just be too much. I have to be at the gym 5 hours a day to keep up with it, and I don't know if I had that much patience to be at the gym an hour or two, but I had to get the late night eating under control, and I was able to.
Is that the same demon you're fighting now?
Without a doubt. Late night eating. It's incredible. And it's so mental, because the next morning you wake up and you're not hungry. And you know, they can be like, come on, it's absolutely in your head.
During the weight loss, did you swap out the late night eating for something else, such as fruits or vegetables that might be light or without sugars, or did you just stop, or you were just capable of not eating at night during that time frame?
It was a little bit of that, yeah. When there were really bad nights, I would make sure that the refrigerator was filled with everything, yeah, seafoods to, you know, sugar-free, or, you know, anything to not completely out. You know what's actually is, well, people say that the only joke that people would know, but, you know, usually lazy, and I could be as lazy as anybody. One time, I'm lazy. If I want to eat, I will, you know, go to the ends of the earth.
You know, it's funny you should say that. You get that itch. It's kind of like the guys going to White Castle. You know, they had to have it. Well, they'll go as far as they have to go to get it.
You know, it's like, no matter, you know, even though Taco Bell's on the other side of, you know, Northern Boulevard, I've got to get there. You know, so it's the one time you'd be all motivated to do what you have to do.
Right.
And you know, right now, the problem, you know, but again, I'm a little better recently, but for a while there, yeah, it was just, you know, definitely back to my old habits.
Yeah, the whole thing is unbelievably fascinating. I mean, you can't help but want to, you know, see where it gets to at the end. I personally, you know, and reading the press information, was aware that at the end of the film you had lost a lot of weight. So you know, as I'm watching the character, I'm going, well, this is going to be interesting. I mean, we're going to see where he gets to the end, and I couldn't wait. But frankly, you know, the story itself was quite well done. I felt there was a couple edits in a few spaces that kind of made it a little bit disjointed.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, there's a couple of. I mean, we always say it's like, you know, you can see, you know, Pounds was our first film, and we actually made a film after it. And when you see our second film was like so much more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet you it's seamless and by comparison.
Yeah, and but there were times when we looked at it and, we would notice it, like, yeah, we could do a little this here, but I guess it almost got to a point where we're like, you know what, the imperfections of it are kind of what the whole movie is, even the structure of it, it's kind of in 4 acts instead of 3, kind of, it's not, it has some things about it that aren't what you normally see.
Sort out the end for me. He's on the beach. He's thin, but then he's fat, and then he's leaving with his beach gear, and he's thin again, or by comparison thin. He's at his ideal weight. What was the message there? Because I was struggling with that, I have to say.
Well, I mean, for me, I've always felt like the end of the movie was really the beginning of his journey. But that's where his new life really started at that moment, because I think up until then, let's say he's been home for a year, he's probably had some good nights, he's probably had some bad nights. And I think that he's still probably struggling with his confidence a little bit, and at least at that moment at the beach, he's not worrying so much about what other people think at that moment. He knows that it's, if he doesn't accept himself, he's not going to get anything with it. So that moment there is about accepting who he is and accepting that he's probably going to battle this for the rest of his life, but that he shouldn't beat himself so much. He's been now. He's been letting other people beat him up, and I just think that's him, getting a little bit of like self-dignity for, that's how I've always, that was my intent of it. It's one of the things that never changed with the ending.
Yeah, I certainly like the fact that, I guess in the midpoint in the film when he's sharing his goal would be if I could just sit on the beach with my shirt off, and of course that moment came. I was curious because I felt like it was tainted by showing him looking fat on the beach as well, because I'm thinking, all right, so does this mean also that he's, looking at himself going, this was who I used to be, but now this is who I am?
I think it's probably, I don't want to say a combination of both. He definitely, I think he definitely is happy with himself there at that moment. He's proud of himself.
Oh, there's no doubt. You could see that. I mean, that message was clear. I was only confused as a moviegoer by the fact that he, you kind of went from the lower weight to the higher weight visual. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like he says, when he says in the thing, like even in the OA meeting, he's got the weight off, but he's there, he's saying, look, I know I'm still going to probably struggle with this.
Yeah, he's there.
I find them to help me get over it, and Beach, even though he's, heavier and he's eating a hot dog. Sorry about this, a little crazy traffic here.
It's okay.
I had to do a little bob and weave there.
I thought it was great that you had him in that meeting, because it sent the message to people that you just don't lose the weight and it's over. It's an ongoing battle, and that's what that was well communicated to me.
And I think even if you lose, that Beach, look, he's put some weight on. He said he's eating that hot dog. I guess another thing that I want to get across is that you're gonna, just because you're way back on, because chances are you're gonna, you can't stop living your life, because then that starts really bad happening before. How did it happen? Because it does sneak up on you. But when it gets, you have kind of two choices at that point. You're either going to become permanent because you don't want anyone to say anything about you, or you're gonna a little bit. And sometimes fighting back is kind of challenging yourself in life. I I know a lot of people that the way they used to want to lose weight was to go buy nice clothes they couldn't fit into and lose weight to get into. I think Neil is pushing himself there too a little bit. Like, don't you're fine. Don't let it consume your life again.
In the film, I saw his parents as enablers, and I thought that was well done. They both weren't bad people, and they meant well. And I thought that was a good message as well. That you have to watch out for even the good people that try to do well by you, because they don't always do well. And go ahead.
That very line, I don't know who ever said it, but who said it first is they always say the road to hell is paved with intentions.
True. The irony of the film is that the people that you wouldn't have expected good things out of were the people that actually helped them the most.
Right.
With the exception of the gentleman who sold him the trailer upstate, just a salt of the earth character. That was again another nice addition.
There's something like that, it's funny. He was that one guy in the film like that, and there are Lee Dawkins out there that are people who just, they're just good-natured all around, And he was the one guy in the film like everyone kind of had their own going on.
So I guess this is going to be your moment in the sun here. You still live in the Brooklyn area?
I live in Flushing, Queens.
Okay.
And Matthew Bonifacio, the director, who's my producer, he lives in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Born and raised in Flushing, Queens. I'm still in Queens, not Flushing right now, but I'm definitely a Queens guy. I love Queens, and everyone in all my LA friends used to live in Queens. They all gotta come out to LA again. Only for work. I go out there for work, and it's beautiful out there. But
speaking of work,
maybe for me, you never know.
What do you do for work now, other than right now, outside of the promotion of this? What's next?
For me, I think TV would. Felt like I might end up on TV with some kind of. I was developed a sitcom for a while. And I'm hoping that maybe it bounce with well, that might get which is basically about the overweight who kind of the completely comedic side of what pounds be.
Oh, there's certainly an audience for it.
I would think so. And so I would love to do that. And I know Matt has a couple of great screenplays and. But TV for me, as from the acting side, it would be really something. I would love to do TV. I've gotten to be on Law and Order. Loved it. I like the festival and they just pump it out. My style.
I guess any advice for anybody else making a film for the first time?
I know this is going to sound cliche, but really don't stop. There were a lot of people who told Matthew and I to on pounds, let it go. You didn't get that military dance. Just go to cable, call it a day, and move on. There are certain films you should do that with.
And I guess what made you not do let it go to cable? Obviously they offered you enough money that probably would have made things good in that area. What was the over? What was the?
Sort of. It wasn't. We weren't. There's so many other things that you have to do when you make a film. It's called the deliveries list, and the deliveries list is where you have to. Everything from. And it's all legit stuff. It's so much that when we were first-time filmmakers, we were unaware of. Like, we have to pay for the closed captioning, and we have to pay for the sound pick, the final pick. You have to pay for the they got an electric script, and it was just endless technical things that were, were legit, cost a fortune. And when it was all said and done with, there really wasn't that much money. Believe me, if it would have made everybody whole, I would have taken it.
Gotcha.
But, it really didn't. It was going to be for 20 years. It was a tough thing to sign away for 20 years.
Wow.
And you know what's funny is I tell people all the time about that is all I was looking for. The reason I also said no was I was just looking for a phone call. I called about 7 or 8 times to try and get this person on the phone when it looked like we were going to go that route. And I never got a phone call back. And I remember asking our rep, and I was like, I just want to hear from the guy. Let me tell you, Lars, the guy would have called me back.
Right.
And he fed me a line of bullshit. Like, look, I know this ain't the... But we're going to put you out there. We're going to film get skiing. We're going to put you eligible for, some award maybe. And I would have taken it. But before we even signed the contract, they forgot about that. So, I don't know, man. I can do it.
Yeah, it's amazing when other people don't realize that when it's all said and done, you still got to go on living your life. They just move on to the next.
And you know what? From their perspective, I can see why that is, but they also got to understand why I know that. It's a one-sided thing.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah.
We got a lot of heat for turning that deal down. It wasn't easy.
So, where will Pounds open up when it opens this week?
It opens up it opens next Saturday at Village East.
Okay.
Which is the end, little brother. Typical, I'm a Met fan. I'm with underdog here at the Village East.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful theater, man. They got a beautiful marquee out front. It's in a great spot of the Village, and it's a perfect spot for us to get this thing going and start getting our message out there. And then the other 3 cities we're hitting up, Minneapolis and D.
Okay.
And I think Washington D.C. is going to be big for us because I have every I could imagine, Lars, to the First Lady or any member of her, to see the film, and because like Neil, the character of Neil could be the result of childhood abuse and you don't deal with it.
Right.
Next thing you know, if you corrected this by the time, let's say you're 21, chances are you may deal with it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a lifestyle change. I mean, if you change your whole lifestyle, then it's a problem resolved. If you don't change your lifestyle, then it's as you've outlined, it's a demon. And even then, it's still waiting in the background, hoping that you give in and go back to the old ways.
That's right. No, and anything, whether it's a divorce, with family, just send you down a bad path, and that's why you have to, you got to build up a strong foundation.
Well, you did something that I guess is pretty amazing on a number of levels. I mean, and it's a film where a gentleman has gone from one way to an extreme, and that as a visual alone is really enticing to see. And then there's the film itself.
Usually when we first started making this movie, I was more worried about being compared to Castaway. There was no Biggest Loser. There was no Super Size Me. There was no Celebrity Fit Club. All these things that are out there. And there certainly wasn't an initiative. Someone like the First Lady, after it. So when we started doing it, I knew it was going to sweep on the country, and it was a big problem. And
does it bother you that it? Go ahead.
The wrong way.
Does it bother you that it took all this time to get it to release?
There were years when it did bother me. I'd be honest with you. I was angry and an angry guy. You know, I felt like, and believe me, I'm not always like, I've had films go on, please, I didn't care about them, right? They weren't good, or they didn't have anything really. So I'm not one of those people like, oh, it's my film. But no, if I don't think my films are, believe me, I'll bury it better than anybody. But I felt out getting a raw deal, and I knew it wasn't Come with the Wind. Knew we was saying something. All these other shows are kind of missing. I'm not going to have a nutritionist. I'm not going to have a chef. I'm not going to have, a world-class trainer. I mean, Biggest Loser is a great show. It's very inspiring when they get, absolutely is. But you know what? 500,000 people came out Biggest Loser last week in New York. And, and 2 of them to get picked. And as wonderful as it is for the people who got picked, those other million people, they got to realize something. They got to do it themselves. I mean, point blank. It's a singular, solitary decision. In your darkest moments, you are going to be alone. And I think now, more than any of these things that are out there that have to do with weight, I think ours is the strongest one. I really do. I feel very strongly about it. It's not a woman. It's not a kid crying on a couch. This is a grown man who, who's just kind of got lost. He's just off in the wilderness, and that's what could happen, to the crying kid.
You outlined a lot of things in the scene where he goes out to dinner with his dream date, so to speak, and he rejects her because of for the person he sees her inside as, and goes home and he's eating, and he throws up in the sink. I thought that was really well done. I mean, showed the entire every side of what he had gone through. He was strong and he was weak at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I mean, he at that point we're basically saying this guy's got he's got an eating disorder. He's screwed up. Food is way too much of it's how he acts out. Something good happens, something bad happens. He just he's letting it dominate his life, and it still is that moment. Here he is with the weight off. It's still causing him misery.
Do you have any fears that the less intellectual will take from that scene that he was just fine being bulimic at that point?
Yeah, well, I think there could be some of that, and I think I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. That Neil is, headed down that path. Doesn't continue to progress.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange you say that, because I have a little bit of trouble discerning between Neil and you in the film, and there's points where you have to remind yourself that the character's doing this, but.
Hey, listen, I'll be the first to admit it. If not knowing when to eat, or not being able to control myself when I eat, and all other kind of clinical explanations for it. I mean, I would imagine I'd be diagnosed with having an eating disorder, which I've never been officially diagnosed with that, but I definitely have a poor way of involving food in my life. I'm very self-deprecating because, even a couple of weeks ago when that thing happened with Kevin Smith, you know what? I got to be honest. When I go on a plane, I'm aware that I'm self-conscious that, first of all, every now and then, depending on the airline, JetBlue seats are a little wider, so I try to fly JetBlue.
Interesting.
But, and JetBlue's got very big seatbelts. I don't have to use an extender on JetBlue. I get to get away with just a normal seatbelt. But on some of these airlines, the planes are a little older. I'll have to get an extender. I always get an aisle seat, number one. And you should see me when I'm on a plane. I'm practically leaning into the aisle, and because I don't want to intrude on the person next to me. You know what I mean? I come from a different place that way. I don't think I'd be such a I don't know what the right word is, but so full of myself that hey, because I'm twice your size, you should just have invading your space. I actually think I don't have that right.
Well,
I mean,
That
said, should the person next to me be really nasty about it and say nasty things? No. It's like anything in life, Lord. The right answer is usually sometimes might be laying somewhere in the middle.
I'm a gray area guy myself. I like the black and white of yin and yang and how it represents balance, but there's a lot of gray area out there.
It's too much for any man.